Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 208. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me here as always, except when he's not, is BT Calloway.
It's early, Elliot. What are you doing?
Well, it's early for some of us, but not for others, because joining us all the way from Los Angeles in the afternoon is Adam Tinius from Entertain The Elk.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us for the Simpsons Index. And of course, this is a podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. But we're doing it a little differently today. We're only doing 2, and this is actually a preview for the future, but more on that later. But for now, Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure. I love The Simpsons and have such rare opportunities to talk and gush about it as much as I do. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, well, I first came to be aware of you from your The Day the Simpsons Died videos, and of course, many of you The Day the Blank Died. So normally we ask our first-time guests, where did you leave the show? I'm guessing it's not the same point that you say The Simpsons died in your video.
No, so yeah, in my video, I said that, and again, the idea of that series is that it comes from a place of love. Like, you love the show so much, but you definitely see the dip in quality in the downward trajectory. And I think I said that was the Principal and the Pauper. I think that was at the beginning of season 9, I think.
Yep.
And because I thought you might ask me this question, I was looking through IMDb last night and looking at where did I stop watching The Simpsons, and I think I was in high school, and I think it was about in the middle of like season 13.
Yeah,
I think,
that's pretty common.
Where I just asked myself, why am I watching this show still? Is there something better I could be doing with my time? And there was other stuff to watch.
Yep.
So yeah, it's about season 13. So jumping to season 31, like I think we watched for one of these episodes, was very, very weird and very surreal.
I think that was a lyric in an Offspring song. I mean, on that as well, I usually ask that question second, and what I usually ask first is, where did the show begin with you? Do you remember where it started for you?
I don't remember the exact moment. I was born in the mid-'80s, and so as long as I can remember, The Simpsons has just always been on in my house. I remember it coming on Sunday nights on Fox. And it would come on, I think, with Married with Children. Another show that I probably shouldn't have been watching when I was a kid. I think I had to sneak around that show. But yeah, The Simpsons, I don't remember the jump between things like Ninja Turtles to The Simpsons.
Yeah.
But I think it was just animated, and they had so many reruns on at the time. I think after school, it would come on the WB or things like that. And I would just watch it when I got home. And I'm sure it's one of those things, I'm sure a lot of people have said this, that when you're a kid, you watch it from a certain kind of lens, and it's wacky and it's animated and it's fun that way. And then you watch it when you get older, and you can kind of, a lot of good pieces of literature or movies or whatnot, you can enjoy it in different facets as you get older and come at it from different angles. So yeah, I mean, I remember watching it since I was a kid. I don't remember the exact time, but yeah, I remember watching, basically from the beginning. I think, when did it premiere? In 89? Or 91, something around there.
Yeah, December of 89. So by one episode. So because of that one Christmas special, it gets to be an 80s show. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, maybe as long as I can remember, I've been watching The Simpsons.
Yeah, so you said you sort of dropped off around season 13. Have you sort of, out of curiosity, gone back and checked out any newer seasons from the 20s or now the 30s?
I think when I did my The Day the Simpsons Died video, I just wanted to do a little bit more research about what had happened in the decade since I basically stopped watching it. And so I kind of played this IMDb game where I just kind of look at the ratings and I'm like, is anything above an 8? Is anything above an 8 maybe? Yeah. And so I saw 1 or 2 episodes. There was Bart Hood, I think, when he's growing up, and then there was another one where someone's getting married in some place. I can't remember if there's another one. I don't know if you guys might know it. Another one's kind of universally kind of liked even in the later years. I'm blanking on it right now.
Not coming to mind, but Barthood we quite enjoyed. Yeah,
Barthood was good. Yeah, and I watched that and I'm like, man, why can't they just have like the balls to just jump to that timeline? I think I might be interested to watch The Simpsons again if they would just jump like 10 years in the future when they're just older and going through different stuff.
Yeah,
I just can't watch Bart go through like problems of being a fourth grader or whatever he is anymore. It's like there was so much more. I felt like what was lacking of the newer episodes, and granted, I'm not as well versed, certainly not as well versed as you guys are in the newer episodes, but they just lack so much like heart and sentimentality that a lot of the older episodes had. And Barthood seemed to like have it, and it felt like a quieter, kind of more somber show. I was like, man, I want to watch that show. I feel like as an adult, I want to watch that show. And I mean, obviously they're not going to do that, but I feel like that was a good episode. And
it'd be a bold and pretty, I mean, I'd be interested to see a move where they just say, okay, we're going to do an entire season future jump where, you know, Bart and Lisa are in their 30s. You're like, okay, cool. Let's see what you got.
Yeah. It would just be, give so much more different dynamics. People will be older in different stages of life as opposed to being stuck in the same state they've been for 30 years. With like very little has changed.
There's actually a really good webcomic, the Springfield Kids or something like that, which explores Bart and Lisa at the edge of graduating high school, which is really good. I'll link it in the show notes. But yeah, thank you for joining us today and letting us subject you to one of the newer episodes.
Yes.
So yeah, let's hook into the review. For this one, this was Season 31, Episode 15, Screenless. First released in March of 2020, it was directed by Michael Polcino, written by J. Stewart Burns. In this episode, Marge puts a limit on screen time and then, because of her struggling addiction, sends the family to screen rehab, and it turns out it's an evil rehab. Hey guys, what do we think?
Woof. Just a one grunt review there, but
I'll say honestly, when I watched this I watched both these episodes with my wife last night, and as soon as the episode was done, I said, you know what? I think they took it easy on me because this could have been a lot worse. I thought I was expecting just something unwatchable, and it certainly wasn't good. But I was like, I feel like this is probably better than the average episodes of this season. Maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't think it was like, you know, like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Definitely not that. It's just I have some notes as always.
No, I agree. Like, I do think they did some technically okay things with the storytelling and like paying off some earlier seeds, but then I think the episode also suffered from poor memory. So it was a bit of this balance thing where anytime like I thought, okay, well done, there was also a moment of, you kind of dropped the ball there. So yeah, I'm still mixed. I don't know where I'm going with my ranking on this.
Oh, don't worry, I know.
I think my expectation, I think what really helped me with this, and I feel like I might be the voice defending certain little parts of this episode, because I came in with the lowest of low expectations, and the fact that it was kind of watchable, I was like, okay. So I feel like it surpassed my expectations, which I guess it maybe wasn't hard to do.
Oh, there's definitely some jokes in there I really felt paid off, but overall I'm not happy.
All right, well let's hook into the episode proper. So Adam, we do this with a questionnaire, and first of all we ask, for better or worse, what is like just a moment that stands out to you from this episode?
Immediately, one that made me chuckle, and I don't even know if I would give it credit to the show, but my wife and I have a child and have done this very thing. And so we laughed because it is reminded of that. And it's when you're teaching your child sign language to try and communicate a little bit. And there's the part where Marge is just doing more, all done, and gives her a Cheerio. More, all done, Cheerio. And it goes on like probably a little too long. It happens like 8 times. But I was kind of chuckling because I was like, oh, again, maybe not because the show did it well, but just because my wife and I were able to be like, oh, we've actually like done that exact thing.
Right.
So that just made that made me chuckle in that moment.
And as your child started doing that one, I didn't catch the sign.
The more she did it. Now she can talk, and now she can say more and scream it if she wants. But at the time, you really are like, you still say more or all done. Like, are you all done with that? You want more? Which I thought was an interesting, I won't go too much in this for just 2 moments, but it was interesting seeing Maggie have like a dynamic that actually played more into the story than I think I've ever seen her play before. Actually, like being able to communicate a little bit was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. You know, parts of the episode that I was enjoying, that they kept that theme running through, even though it had little or nothing to do with the whole screen time thing.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, BT? What's a moment for better or worse that stood out to you?
Well, a little peek behind the camera for our lovely audience here. For the reasons of, international broadcasting, we actually did something very different on this one, where we watched both episodes at the night before and now recording, now. Instead of, watch, record, which is what we usually do. So for that, I knew I had to stop more often and write down exactly what my note meant, because usually it's hieroglyphics and it's just, I have to figure out what the hell I'm talking about. But because it's fresh in my mind, it's usually not too bad. So when this one came up and I saw the title Screenless, I immediately stopped it and wrote the note, this episode will feature a bunch of kids these days crap with nothing to actually say and completely miss that it's a show that's on a screen and has been for 31 years.
You're Nostradamus.
Well, nearly. I will say there wasn't as much as, these kids these days, as much as I thought there was going to be. That said, it just had nothing to say about mobile devices or constant screen time or anything. And anytime it veered near having that, it just forgot what it was doing and started doing something else entirely. So, yeah, that's my note about this episode. I was half right about it at least. And I think I deserve an Oscar. I don't know.
Sure. It's in the mail. I guess my moment, and just to harp on the negative and like kind of my big bug about this episode, is that I thought there was a certain charm to when the rest of the family was doing okay without the screens, and it was a good enough story point that Marge wasn't. And I really hated then when they went to the rehab and then suddenly they were all struggling.
Yeah, look, to me that just comes off absolutely as lazy screenwriting. It's like you need to establish what's happening. So then why do we spend time watching Homer, Bart, and Lisa being fine without screens to then turn around and have that be the absolute opposite problem when they're in rehab? Like, what was the point of those scenes?
Yeah, I don't think I understood the turn of that, of what made them go to that place. Because, they seemed fine in the real world. Like, it seemed like they were happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would have been just as easy as like, Marge needs to go and we need to support her, something like that. Because then I think, when I was talking about the technicalities before, I think the way they escaped the rehab as well, where they like brought back a few of the elements that they sort of learned in their life without screens, I thought, while I wasn't exactly entertained by it, was like a technical achievement. But yeah, it didn't make much sense with the rest of the rehab story.
Yeah, and like honestly, the point they're going for even in the beginning is really blurry and weird, because Marge is like, okay, no, we're going to have half hour of screens a week, which first of all, half hour of screens a week is bullshit. But then like the next scene, she's watching TV. It's like, okay, so TV doesn't count then. All right, I guess it must just be, mobile phones. And then later on, they can't go on computers. And it's like, wait, so TVs are fine, but computers are out, even though your audience is currently watching this on a computer. And I think where that really came to a head for me is where Lisa is at the library and wants to check out a book, but can't use the computer to look it up. And it's like, so she's so addicted to screens, in quotations, that she can't look at a book. Like she's genuinely trying to do something non-screen related, and they couldn't think of a single thing to get her to do. They couldn't think of anything else to make life better without screens than to have her go, oh, library cardstock smells so good. It's like, that's it. That's your thing. This is what the kids need to get off the phones and smell some cards.
Yeah, Ben, I think you're totally right. I mean, it's frustrating because you see the elements there that could make a decent episode, but it's like they're not even trying to like have a message or to say anything. It's just kind of this vehicle to do some kind of wacky thing that might happen at the end, but because even in the opening scene, it was really convicting to me as a father of like, it's really hard to fight that balance of like screen time and being like, man, I need to engage with my child and like not just put them in front of a screen all the time. And when that opens up and they're just watching that kind of mindlessly and Maggie's trying to get their attention, there was something that definitely pulled at the heartstrings. And I was like, and for half a second you think like, oh, are they going to like do something with that or actually have something profound to say? And of course they don't. It just kind of goes the same direction where they've gone time and time before. I mean, did this episode remind you guys of, what was it? When Marge has a gambling addiction, and then when she's afraid of flying, it's like, okay, here she says one thing, and then we got to work through this thing. It's just the same. It's just the same thing, but much worse.
Same thing in a time loop. It's just that the technology gets updated, and they've traded slot machines for iPads.
Exactly.
But, I mean, talking about the wackiness, that's the other question we ask is, we like to explore, because a lot of people, what they love about The Simpsons is how they do balance wackiness and heart, the animation with the emotion. So, first of all, with the wackiness, was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons? How were the cartoony elements?
In its details, sure. There's a bit where Grandpa has brought over a bunch of coyotes. Yeah, it's there. I didn't say I liked it. I just... does anyone know who Dr. Drew is? Because I don't.
Yeah.
Because there's the bit where he's at the, the screen rehabilitation center, and he's all, I'm just so addicted to Fruit Ninja. Die, mangoes, die. And then he hulks out and rips out of his shirt, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Okay, so it's not just me?
No, I didn't understand. Yeah, I understood. I knew the reference, but I have no idea why he would turn into the Hulk. That made no sense to me. And again, I thought it was pretty tame on over the top, super zany, cartoon where it's just dumb. But yeah, the elements are still there for sure.
Yeah, and it's just one of these weak Simpsons cameos. So yeah, for you, Beach, and anyone else that doesn't know, Dr. Drew Pinsky is one of these TV doctors. I think he is actually an actual doctor, unlike Dr. Phil or something. But he started out with a Loveline radio show, if I remember.
Yeah, I remember that coming on at 1 a.m. when I was in high school.
Yeah, and then I think his big break into the mainstream was through Celebrity Rehab.
Okay.
Which is just one of the saddest shows you could ever subject yourself to. But
he didn't break through by playing the Hulk.
No.
I'm very confused about that.
Yeah, I did not get that at all.
Yeah. No. My wackiest moment, I think, is the part where Homer's like, how much does this rehabilitation center cost? And the guys are like, it's paid for by tech billionaires who feel guilty about addicting people to screens. Tech billionaires don't feel guilt, guys. Come on. They go to space and get away from that's fine.
But just while we're on there, another guest star of this episode, Werner Herzog.
Again, I mean, I love that guy. That they use him so much for nothing.
Yeah. At first, I was like, "Oh, okay, he's a funny voice, this naturally kind of funny voice," and then they definitely overuse it, and you're like, "Okay." And any kind of humor that was there for a minute is now just dug into the ground and turned into a powder.
Yeah, he's had 5 appearances on the show now, and
he has. Oh wow.
Yeah, because you remember, Beach, there's that other one where he synthesizes that medicine which makes all the old people's eyes pop out.
Yeah, the scorpion something or other.
For the listening audience at home, you should see Adam's face right now. He's like, this is a story.
I'm so glad we didn't watch that episode.
It's gross.
Yeah, but I mean, talking about the accent as well, Marge, literally pointing it out, it's just so disappointing. Were there any other wacky moments that stood out to you, Adam?
I mean, I guess when they're trying to escape, I don't even know if that's necessarily bad, because again, if it was done better, I think it could have been okay. But when they're trying to be quiet and he steps on a shard of a Quiet Place DVD, I mean, that's not really super wacky, but you're just it's just so on the nose. It just hits you so hard. You're like, I see what you're trying to do, and maybe I could see how that'd be kind of funny on the page, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And that kind of goes to a larger note of just, again, watching, I haven't watched a lot of these newer episodes, but all of the references are just what's happening at the time. We open with a Making a Murderer, and then it's the Quiet Place. Then there's another reference that hits you over the head. They're just live bloggers on their computer and kids on their cell phones. I don't know. It really just makes it feel, it already makes it feel immediately dated, I guess. I don't know. Where I feel like the older episodes felt a little bit more timeless. They didn't seem so much about, here's the thing that's on TV right now all the time.
I mean,
No.
I will say I did quite like the opening of the Making of the Murderer parody, especially when it's like, it looks like no attractive young woman was declared dead. It may be that no one died. And it's just the fact they've gone through a whole court case and trial and no one was actually dead. It's like, okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think they overstepped it with the whole appeal thing, but I mean, it was fine. But that was our other guest star of this episode. Dawn Lewis was playing the female lawyer there, and people might remember her as La Barbara on Futurama.
Okay.
Yeah, she's showed up a lot in The Simpsons, especially the later years. But yeah, talking about the exit as well, which is, more of the wackier material. And yeah, there was that bit where the sign language comes back and it's like, oh, Maggie helped, and everyone's doing the good baby, nice baby, and then Homer doing the fish postal service, whatever. That was fine, but then when he goes Bob Seger and there's that guitar music cue, it's like, why are you doing this?
Could have been a sweet moment that, again, is just played for an easy, like, stupid joke that's not... It could have actually had some heart there of, like, actually getting out together as a family, but no.
No, it's like, the whole evil rehab center thing, like, I don't know, this just didn't play for me. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, no, it's a first draft idea. It's okay, the Simpsons aren't using their phones. What do we do? Well, we've never really established them as being addicted to them before, and we don't do that in this episode. So let's just have an evil rehab center.
Yeah, it just screams like we have to get back to square one. We have to end the way we always begin. And so it's like, let's just do something. What's the quickest way to get done with this? As opposed to her actually, maybe if she actually legitimately had an addiction and like working through that in some way together. It's like you just make this kind of outside force be the antagonist, I guess. Yeah, it's just the easiest kind of way just to kind of, let's quickly wrap this up and just be done with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, as quickly as the evil rehab center comes, is that it's shut down, and then it ends as quickly as it happens, but they take their time to have Dr. Lund listening to Little River Band in the back of Chief Wiggum's car, and it's like, hey, you stay away from our Little River Band. That's an Australian icon right there.
Yeah, even if you don't like them, they're not like so awful they're gonna make you cry or anything. So, okay, well done. Pointless joke with a music reference.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what was the whole ploy of that place. It was to get the customers or people checking in their passwords so that way they could do what?
They could spam email from their accounts, I think.
Yeah.
Was
for what purpose?
Roughly I don't know.
Okay. I mean, from that, I've got to admit, I did like Werner Herzog's delivery of, this is our side hustle. I'm making $400 a day. Ask me how. Like, there was some, because of Werner Herzog, ominous sort of delivery that worked. But yeah, the plot point itself is just such garbage. But, on the other side of the wackiness, we like to explore the heart. How was the emotional core of this episode?
And that says
crickets.
Yeah. Again, I really did I enjoyed the Maggie dynamic because, again, 30 years of sucking on a pacifier, can't really do much. And here she actually was communicating and like saying something and even helping the plot along.
It'd be weird to have her talk as well. So it's a good way to get around that is to have her signing.
Yeah, and it was like getting to work with that, and again, there was something there that could have been played with, either with screen time being too much and ignoring your child, trying to communicate with them, or like legitimate like addiction and not like being together and being drowning in your own phone. But I mean, there's not much heart there.
Yeah. And I mean, to give the episode a little credit, like I did find something really sweet about Bart making the game at school, and then the bully's like, what a dork, and then eventually coming round to him. And I really just wish that was so much more explored, though.
It's just there. They're like, okay, we need something for Bart to be doing that doesn't involve a screen. Okay, that's enough, and we're done now. And it moves on.
Yeah. I mean, is there any other heart to explore in this episode?
You could say something. If they'd explored the idea that Marge was actually the most addicted, that would be something. Because all the other guys have something to do all day. Homer goes to work, Bart and Lisa go to school, they have friends, they have an outside life, Marge doesn't, therefore the screens are her social outlet. That'd be something. We don't really go there. I'd also kind of found it kind of hilarious. This aired in March of 2020, right before everyone really, really needed their screens a lot. So, timing,
Well, the timing as well, because, I did not plan for this, but the couch gag having a daylight savings joke, and we literally just went into daylight savings this morning. Like, Yeah, I almost stuffed up our start times because
Simpsons
I didn't
predicted it. The Simpsons know all, even our own lives.
Yeah. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? You know, how's the integrity? Are the characters behaving like themselves?
Pale imitation. There's a concept there, especially around Marge wanting more family. Marge being family focused, wanting more family time, but it just doesn't pull together. So there's the coffin of an idea.
I'll say that I thought the episode flowed decently. I think a lot of the problems that I saw with like newer episodes is that it would just start some random place, and then something would blow up, and then after about halfway through the episode, you're like, oh, this is what the episode's about. Like, it's just, this meant nothing at the beginning, and then it just spins off until you kind of land where the episode is going to be. And I liked how this one seemed to be kind of cleaner, maybe for lack of a better word, tighter, I'm not sure. But it was like, hey, we actually started with Screen, and that was the whole thing of the episode. And I could see how it progressed linearly. So I thought it was decent in that respect, and it wasn't over the top, like super cartoony, goofy. There were certainly moments like we've highlighted, but it seemed to stick to the family dynamics. So I guess in that sense, it kind of felt like an older episode. But again, like I think Ben, what you just said, a pale imitation, imitation at best.
Yeah, I think you're right. The show as a whole still had some of that flow, but an individual character I don't think there were any serious breaks. Like, all the characters were believably themselves. There is still the weird continuity issue of Selma's kid just, like, only being there when it's convenient, and like...
she's like Homer's watch. Only exists when there's a joke about it.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know, Adam, but Selma adopted a kid in, like, season 16, and they just sort of keep forgetting that happened.
No, I did not know that. Last I knew, was she the one who had Jeb? That's the last thing that I knew about her having that's the last thing I knew.
Yep, she upgraded from Lizard.
And just while we're on that scene as well, she has, Maggie's all coughing and signing, "You need to stop smoking around me," something like that, and then falls asleep because she's overwhelmed by fumes, and Selma's all like, she always sleeps so good here. Superman sleeps good. Maggie sleeps well.
Jesus. But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
No.
I mean, no. Of course not. But for having to talk about it on the podcast, it was watchable. But I wouldn't tell people to run and go watch it.
No, that's, we're doing a service here. We're telling you if it's worth it or not, and I'm saying it's not. So now we like to explore what we'd like to change about this episode. BT, we'll start with you. What would you like to change?
I think my biggest one is really just going to be, that whole part where we're watching Bart, Lisa, and Homer being fine without screens. If that's not going to be the point later, if it's just meant to be Marge that's addicted, then keep that. And if it's meant to be they're all struggling, then show them struggling, because those scenes are effectively pointless because they're not feeding into the back half of the plot. So that'd be my main thing to want to change. Just remember what you were doing and have a point. At the end of this, I just wrote down, what was the actual point of this? What are we supposed to think or feel at the end of it? There's a lot to be said about, phone addiction and, having to constantly be stimulated by social media, yada, yada. It doesn't have that to say about it. It's just got a vague idea about something. Like, I like how Marge is, addicted to Pinterest at one point about judging people's cakes. That never comes back again. If the thing she's like gets caught by the family doing is looking up a recipe, it's like, oh no, how dare she? What a betrayal. It's like, no, if she'd been like addicted to gossip or something else and then fed into the idea that she doesn't get to go outside as much as everyone else, therefore needs this outlet, and something about the balance of technology in real life, there's so much to be said there, and that needs to be said a lot, quite often. People do need that reminder every now and then. But it just doesn't have that. It's got, like, especially the third act is just very heavily first draft.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? What would you like to change about this episode?
Well, I think I was comparing this to the episode where Marge has a gambling problem. So let's look back with my memory, if we all can remember that episode. And in that episode, Marge has a gambling problem. That choice, or that falling into that, had repercussions. She forgot to help Lisa build like a Florida costume or something for some pageant.
Spot on.
She hurt the family. The family felt hurt by that. Homer had to go talk to Marge and tell her, confront her with that. say like, you've hurt Lisa because of this, and like change your ways. Like, you're addicted. We need to confront this. And it ends with like what, them walking on the pier together, like a really sweet moment. Like, that's when The Simpsons was great. Like, if that happened in this season, or the 31st or whatever the hell season, it would have been, and then we fall backwards into the casino having some plot to explode Springfield, and then they kind of spin into something stupid that doesn't matter with anything. It becomes too big to make it zany, as if that's fun. Where if you shrink it and go small and stick to like, you made a choice that hurt one of your kids, let's work through that in a funny way. That's when it had heart, and it was the family dynamic. What could have made it better in this sense would have been Marge made a decision that hurt one of her children, or it hurt the family in some way, and they have to rally around that and confront that in some way. That's the way of keeping it smaller, not now we spin off to a different place with people we don't care about, and now there's some other force that's has nothing to do with anything. It just feels like it's spinning out of control, as opposed to having a tighter narrative and having clear like consequences.
Yeah, when it should be coming all together, it's spanning out into something completely unrelated. And as long as we're talking about one better things, I'd also like to... It did remind me a bit about Marge versus Itchy and Scratchy, because that's also one where the kids stop watching TV and they do go out, and you just have this little montage of, them playing outside, and it has a music that lets you know this is all amazing and great. And then later on when they're back in TV, there's just that ghost town vibe of showing the empty streets. And that's a way to do... isn't it a shame all the kids are inside, on screens rather than out playing like kids should, without being overly preachy or beating you over the head with it. And it was just a comparison I wanted to make, because I never got that sense from this. I never got the idea of what's the benefit meant to be.
I like what you said, Ben. Yeah, it's like there's a way of doing it where that actually is an issue. Like, they introduce what's actually an issue, and they start to like scratch the surface of maybe dealing with that, but then it spins off and it has nothing to do with it, and then it has this cheap kind of out, as opposed to, no, actually like shine a light on that. I like that example, Ben, about like, not having to be super loud about it, but like show like the empty streets, and like there's a sadness to that, and having more of that heart and subtlety. It lacks subtlety so much in the new episodes.
Well, I think that's just the whole problem with the screen rehab. And also, is this a thing? I don't think it's a thing. Like,
probably screen rehabs?
Yeah.
I guarantee you it's a thing.
In Los Angeles, probably.
Yeah.
We got rehab for everything.
But yeah, I really wish it stayed within the family and just stayed within the Simpsons' home. This is a home problem. So why did it have to go to this faraway place that they're, doing the escape from the thing with lasers and shit? Keep it at home. And like, I think there's something to having the conclusion be more about Maggie sign language, because she doesn't have a screen. Like, she only has a screen when the parents allow it. And so... I don't know, if everyone's sort of zombified on their screens and, only I can save the day, the house is on fire and they're all ignoring it or something like that.
That was something else I thought was going to come up, because they got the idea to teach Maggie to sign from TV. And I was like, okay, this is going to be it's not all bad, isn't it? No, because they never say TV is a problem. TV is fine. Never stop watching television. But get off your phone, though. Pay more attention to Fox.
No, get on your phone. Listen to podcasts while you're watching TV. In fact, why not buy another screen? The Simpsons. We are sponsored by screens. All right. That about does it. It's time for our final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes.
Adam, do you have any more notes about this episode before we rank it?
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. So
put that on the DVD.
I'll say that, hey, it was better than I thought. It has many issues, obviously. Part of me wonders, again, like, if this was season 1 of a show called The Simpsons that I hadn't heard of before, and this was just a new episode, would it be like fine? Or is it because I have this whole catalog of what the show used to be, and it just pales in comparison to what used to be like a masterpiece in this show? I don't know. I wonder if you guys ever think about that. Where it's like, would this episode be fine if it was like, if this was the pilot episode of a new cartoon airing on Fox or whatever? Would I be like, that was fine, I guess. But when you just consider it in amongst all the Simpsons episodes, it's worse than 11 seasons of The Simpsons. So I don't know. That's all I can say, I guess.
Yeah, that's something we often consider and have to try our best to work around. Like, would this fly if this was a classic era? Would this joke actually work if it was in an episode I liked? And the reverse being true as well, which we'll get to, is am I just watching this with rose-colored glasses because it's, from the classic era? It's difficult. We try. I can't guarantee we always get that right, but we do what we can.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing with like Family Guy. We rag on Family Guy a fair bit and say, oh, this is The Simpsons doing a Family Guy joke or whatever. But, if I'm going to sit down and watch a Family Guy episode, which I sometimes do, I'm meeting Family Guy on that level, and sometimes, like, newer Simpsons kind of demand that from you. But yeah, I think from the spreadsheet, you can see, like, by our rankings, we have some favorites from the new era. I think we're being as fair and balanced as we can. But yeah, you're right. There is that certain expectation that comes with seeing the Yellow Family and what it meant to you growing up and all that. Yeah.
The Simpsons indexed, fair and balanced as much as we can.
BT, do you have any other notes about this episode before we rank
of course I do. In wackiness, Homer's playing Tapped Out on his tablet.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird. Marge got the idea from TV. I already said that.
Sorry, have you ever played the Simpsons Tapped Out mobile game, Adam? Or
no,
it's like a build your own Springfield game where you tap things and earn money, and then you pay money into the thing and you get Duff Man. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's horribly addictive, and I probably spent about 300 hours into it before I had to like go cold turkey.
Yeah, he sounds like you need some rehab there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a bit where Lisa's
off to Los Angeles.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a bit where Lisa's like, I forgot how good it was to crack the spine of a book. Cracking the spine of a book is bad, Lisa. You mean crease is what you mean, you idiot.
Dumb 8-year-old.
Look, I'm sorry. This is a character we know loves books and would know that. I'm very sorry, but, try. Oh, yeah, just the whole... my big problem is really just, the whole montage of, look how rich our lives are. Homer's doing crosswords and, Lisa smelling cards. Like, this is the best you got. I like Bart's, okay, but...
Was Homer's, like, a Beautiful Mind tribute?
A little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
And to be fair, it kind of comes back later where he rearranges Danger into Garden. Sorry, the other way around.
Oh, that's true. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. I didn't mind that as a joke that then the guards were like, oh, like,
okay.
it was fine.
If I was having a better time, it would have landed a lot better.
Yeah.
Can I squeeze in one thing? I forgot one thing that I think might be my least favorite moment in the entire episode. It is the laziest joke. I can't believe none of us have mentioned it, probably because it was so forgettable and stupid. It's when they have to show Marge their, like, screen time, and they're like, look, it's like 15 minutes, and it's whatever. And then the guy comes to the door of the business. It's like, hey, I'm the guy who rewinds your phone time, whatever. I was like, that's just an epitome of... It's just like such a bad joke that like it was so lazy. That was the worst. That might have been the worst episode. The moment of the entire episode.
Yeah, because I was like, they've got to be cheating, but how do we explain that? I will have the guy come round.
It's written on the van. Then he says it. Then he asks for his screen winding back wrench.
That was terrible.
Yeah, just in case you don't get it. That said, I did like the button of, well, that puts me out of business. If you'd like to buy a van, it's only got 2 miles. Wink. Like, okay. Yeah. The button is funny. The rest of it is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
And yeah, my only other notes, it sucks, another part of like Simpsons not letting a nice moment just be a nice moment is, when Maggie starts finally picking up, the sign language. And then she goes, would you like more Star Wars movies? No more. What about Baby Yoda? It's like, fuck off. Stop talking about
I know.
The only thing that's been in the pop culture longer than The Simpsons is Star Wars. So it's the only target they can punch up to.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they're just so afraid to let a moment just be a moment. They have to have one last thing to remove, like the Bob Seger thing. It's like, no. Yeah. Just let the moment be and let it be sweet. Like they're so afraid of it's like they're so repulsed of sentimentality.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
That's the thing. Sentimentality is so key to The Simpsons. It's literally a question on popular podcasts.
But I mean, similar with the Lisa's got the joy of smelling microfiche or whatever, like whatever is a bit, and then the possum's in there. It's like, do we attack it? No, let's play possum. Such first laugh bullshit.
Groan.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, the other guest star of this episode, Dana Gould, did a mini podcast in this episode because
It's a
Okay.
thing.
What else do you have in rehab besides Dana Gould doing live podcasts?
Yeah, I do like the visual joke of the microphone plugged into one guy's headphones. But yeah, other than that, I don't even remember what Dana Gould said.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And my final note is The Simpsons' habit of having, a post-story scene where they're in the jail and then they're talking about semen samples.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just had to remind you. I have nothing to say on it. It's just it happened.
They had like two endings. Like why they had them driving off in the car. And it's like, that's not enough. You want some more? And now they're in the cell. Like, what? I don't need any more. I don't need any more of this.
And that's the thing. It's like, it wasn't over the credits either. It was like an actual extra scene because they had that much time left over. And it's like, guys, go back and add something in your episode if you have more time. Instead of making me, sit here imagining Simpsons characters jacking it. Thank you for that.
Dear God. All right, well, that must mean it must be time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes that are essential, the episodes which the Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Look, technical achievements, like about the episode's memory aside, I'm still failing this one. I just found it such a painful watch that even the parts that I did enjoy, I was like, okay. And then, like, some of the technical things is like, yeah, but you just whiffed it so badly in some other areas. Like, I was flirting with participant, but I ended up going failure. BT, what do you reckon?
Yeah, look, this one, it's not awful. It's certainly not the worst one. And usually we say we reserve failure for the ones that are offensive in some degree. That said, this one was just so lazy to me. It really started to piss me off the more I thought about it. And what kind of tilted me for it was the idea that, Lisa's trying to get a book because she's so addicted to phone screens. It's like, no, you should have her doing anything else. Like,
well, yeah,
it just doesn't.
Her acquired skill, sorry to interrupt, but her acquired skill from not having screens does not come back into the end, so it's pointless anyway. Yeah,
it's pointless, and it's, again, she's trying to get something that isn't a screen. That's not an addiction. It just came off as incredibly lazy to me, and so if you're not going to try, then why the hell am I going to give you a participant? A participant says you at least gave it a shot, so I'm going to fail as well. Into the pit with ye.
And Adam, what would you like to rank it?
So failure is the lowest, and participant is one rung above that?
Yep.
Then I think for that reason, I'm going to go participant. Having no context of any other episodes around it.
It's very fair, don't worry.
There's got to be, for me, there's got to be a rung below that. There's got to be episodes that are unwatchable, kill me, I don't want to watch another second of this episode. And that never felt like that to me. Yeah, so that I think for that reason alone, there's got to be a rung below this, because this one was it was whatever, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't good, but it felt like there has to be way worse episodes out there. And so for that reason, and there were some decent moments, maybe I'll give it a participant just because it hit me at a time in my life where I'm kind of actually going through some of these kind of things. So it made me chuckle for that reason. The episode itself didn't really earn that, but it just happened to, the timing of it hit me that made it a little bit more enjoyable. So I'll go participant.
No,
I think that kind of range of shiny failure, dull participant is really where this belongs.
Yep, and with the scores averaged out, that'll be a shiny failure. And it'll be the second shiny failure from season 31. It'll be joining Treehouse of Horror XXX. That one, they did a Stranger Things parody. And...
but it's pointless. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Have there been any other episodes anywhere nearby this that have been above... that have been in the passing grades, or are all these seasons just variations of?
I think 31's not doing. I think 31 opener I think was okay. If I'm remembering that. Or was 30?
31 and 32 have had some surprises in there. 31 is the one that has Todd, why hast thou forsaken me? Which
that could have been incredible if they landed.
Yeah, Adam, I actually really recommend that one because that explores
really
the impact of Maud's deaths from Todd's perspective and his loss of faith and stuff.
Oh, cool!
It's really interesting. Completely whiff the ending, but
for a while there, it's building. You're like, holy shit, are we going here? Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that's the same season as Screenless.
Yeah. Todd, why hast thou forsaken me? We haven't reviewed many episodes from the 30s yet. But yeah, also the season 32 opener was pretty good. Undercover Burns, where Burns goes undercover in his own nuclear power plant.
No, okay.
And jumps into a Dave Harbour suit.
Look, it gets wacky. But some of the ideas.
And yeah, reviewed last week on the podcast. We didn't mind podcast news, where Kent Brockman starts a podcast and accuses Grandpa of murder. That one was okay. All right, well, now it's time to move on to the classic era, and my goodness, what a classic we have for you today. So we're going to go review Radio Bart. We will be back. And we are back, and we just watched... No, we didn't. We already said that we watched these ahead of time. Anyway, we're about
You can let them believe the lie if you want. We just watched and are all in the same room together.
Yes. Season 3, episode 13. Don't believe what Disney Plus says you. There's a first episode that they deleted. Tell the people. Anyway, we just watched Radio Bart. First released in January of 1992. It was directed by Carlos Baeza, written by John Vitti. In this episode, Bart gets a microphone that transmits to radios for his birthday. And you know this one. It's Timmy Tool and the well, and then Bart goes down the well. Hey, what did we think?
Man, this one started off good, but I was like, oh, okay, this is a little bit weaker than I thought, but it definitely ramps up as it goes on. Towards the end, I'm like, okay, this is all wonderful.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was expecting this to be like a perfect episode, and there at the beginning it was a little kind of slow going. I was like, oh yeah, it takes a little bit, but once it hits its stride, man, I think the third act is like incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Or even like the midpoint is like so good all the way through to the end.
Yeah, we've said plenty of times before, if you're going to get anything right, stick the landing.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, for me, we were talking about the rose-colored glasses and stuff before. This is going to be very difficult for me because this is like just... within my family, one of the most memed episodes. Before we even had a word for it, this was just one of the most oft-quoted episodes. I have such a strong love for this one just based around how much it amused my family growing up, more so than a lot of episodes. So this is going to be difficult for me because, just watching this was like a warm hug. I'm in front of the fireplace, on the carpet.
There's a Labrador at your feet.
Yeah. Well, she was a three-legged bitzer, but, that's my old dog Butcher, rest in peace. Anyway, so let's hook into the questionnaire. Adam, we'll start with you. For better or worse, what's a moment from Radio Bart that stands out to you?
I think you were just talking to Elliot about references or how this comes into your daily vernacular and things like that. I think something that I still quote to this day at every birthday party is "You're the birthday boy or girl." Yeah, I do that all the time. That always cracked me up whenever I watch that episode. I always love that line.
Well, actually, I got to ask because we didn't have a Chuck E. Cheese in Australia. So. Do these animatronic birthday songs exist in those places?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a birthday or two at a Chuck E. Cheese when I was growing up, and there are these kind of crappy looking things that just kind of move around and they talk. They're not as bad as that where the machinery is falling down and sparks are coming out, though that was funny. And usually they're timed better, but it definitely hits on that thing where they're awkward, where it's like, "Hi there, little one, happy birthday." And if someone tries to talk to it, it's just out of sync. And I'm sorry you guys don't get to enjoy Chuck E. Cheese. I don't even know if they're around. I think they're around still, but yeah, they're definitely awkward.
Yeah. We still had good birthday parties in the Down Underverse.
Yeah. Time Zone Unlimited game parties, man. They were the shit.
Oh my God. Metal Slug for an entire hour.
Hells yeah.
Yeah, that whole opening with the birthday party, I just quite enjoyed that as well. And Bart's getting slowly disillusioned with his whole birthday. I think he was acting like a bit of a spoiled brat with the presents, but
He also got a label maker. If you're 10 and you got a label maker, that would dampen your day.
And Dr. Marvin Monroe's Guide to Etiquette.
Yes.
But what about you, BT? What stands out to you from this episode, for better or worse?
I think the charity single, Sending Our Love Down the Well, which... obviously, when I was a kid, I didn't really get what this was a parody of. But then when I grew up, I found out about the We Are the World and just the cheesy push for that to work. And just something about that I feel is just so perfectly parodied in this, where you've got all these famous people who are just singing instead of doing something and claiming all kind of the glory credit for it. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, well, and yeah, a bit of trivia. They originally approached Bruce Springsteen for this because he was on We Are the World, but he turned it down. So yeah, then they went with Sting, who I think objectively was the better choice. He was phenomenal in this episode, I reckon.
Yeah,
Great.
It's especially just that bit at the end where he's like digging. He's like, "Not one of my fans needs me." He's like, "Shut up, Marge. He's a good digger."
Oh, I cracked
that bit
moment
got me really hard.
Yeah, my wife and I also were like, "What is this reference again?" Because we kind of no idea. We had an idea of what the reference was, but we definitely paused the episode and looked up on YouTube the "We Are the World" song and watched the entire thing. It was hilarious.
Well, and I think Simpsons sort of captured the cynicism of it really well because, yeah, you look behind those charity singles and it's like very few of the money goes to the thing. Like there's the famous, Live Aid debacle and...
Yeah. Hey, those limos out back don't pay for themselves.
Exactly. Whatever's left will throw down the well. Like... No, it's so good. And just another bit of trivia there. The whole Marge is a good digger line was referencing that Sting, one of his jobs before being a musician, was being a ditch digger.
Oh,
really?
Whoa. I had no idea about that.
So yeah, deep cuts. And also coincidental timing of picking these episodes for today for this record. It's Sting's 70th birthday today.
Oh.
Wow.
Sting is 70.
Is he doing anything for it? Can we go?
Well, we're a little bit far away, but
I'll send your regards when I hang out with them tonight.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the postal service isn't that great here, so I guess I'll have to send him a message in a bottle.
Ooh. Gonna have to call the police on that one.
I'll give you a golf clap on that one.
Thank you for the tepid golf clap. Oh my God, what stands out to me from this episode? I guess... I don't know if I quite appreciated it in the past, but I do like Homer's being immediately swayed by the commercial. I think we got a lot of this in Simpsons at that time, him being really swayed by like the infomercials like the orange juicer and things like that.
Yeah. No, I always really enjoy that. Especially because I now have a family member who does that.
Oh, really?
Is like immediately influenced by television. It's like, oh, wow, these people do exist.
So have you been getting some as seen on TV products for your...
I've only heard the stories, thankfully, but it's just like, okay, wow, really? All right.
Yeah, but I like how, he's swayed by the commercial and then he's like... Bart's rejected his present. He's trying to convince him, so he tries to play out the commercial, and it's just going so hilariously bad for him because it's Homer. He hasn't got mic control and technique, and like of all songs as well, I think Convoy had to be the funniest pick.
It's very shouty by its nature.
Yeah,
that song has forever ruined me. I'm not hearing that song all the time, but if I hear it in any kind of regard, I definitely think of that Simpsons reference.
Yeah, with the dog howling as well. It's just such a beautiful bit. So, play count. Have you seen this episode before? How many times do you think you've revisited it? BT?
Oh, again, not for a very long time, but, oh man, geez, it's got to be in the 20s, 30s. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
I've probably seen it about a dozen times. My wife had so much Simpsons gaps in her, library. And so I took it upon myself as a good husband and Simpsons fan.
It was in your vows.
Exactly. A couple years ago, we started going through, I started around season 2, I think, or some highlights of season 1. But I think we went through all of the first 9 seasons. And so I hit it, that was a couple years ago, but... They come back to you so easily. I'm sure you guys are the same way. When you've seen it so many times, you just remember the jokes and you find yourself quoting them before they come out. And you're like, man, I haven't seen this in so long, but you just remember it.
No, absolutely. Revisiting it today, it had been a while for me as well. And it's just, it's such a warm hug. But yeah, let's explore the cartoony moments. How was the wackiness in this episode?
Again, it's not really a terribly wacky one. It's more in the fringes of things. I do really love Socrates here will grip the young lad in his talons and fly him to safety. But to follow that up with, I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, that's another meme. Yep.
Because it's quiet. There's no super loud ending. The hilarity is in the simpleness of it, where he just watches them quietly fly away. It's so good.
And then after that, a quick little Jaws reference, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. This hook and this hunk of chocolate, I'll hook your boy, and I'll clean him for free, too.
Oh, wild. Yeah, I guess the wackiness sort of does come around the media circus that literally turns into a media circus around the...
I do love it's very Springfield to put a carnival around a tragedy.
Yeah, I wondered if that was... have you all seen the movie Ace in the Hole? It's an old movie from the 50s with Kirk Douglas. And I was watching, I was like, I wonder if that's an Ace in the Hole reference, because in that one, the idea is that someone falls in a hole and is trapped, not in a well, but in a hole. Yep. And it becomes this media circus where it does become a carnival outside of it. So I was like, wow. Man. Again, speaking to when you come back to The Simpsons older, they have these like nuanced references that don't beat you in the head. But you're like, oh, I wonder if that's what they were doing.
Yeah, if you get it, you get it. I mean, that feels pretty coincidental. So
yeah, no, it absolutely is. No. Matt Groening, because he was the one who pitched this story, and then John Vitti wrote it, and John Vitti had never seen that movie, and Matt Groening like gushed about it, absolutely loved it, and like basically wrote him the entire plot, and then John Vitti went out and hired it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'm glad I pulled that on my butt. Okay. All right, sweet.
Yeah,
really pulled that ace out of the hole.
Exactly.
Ooh, nice. Ace out of the A. No, so well done. You now get 50 Simpsons Index points.
Yeah.
You can just spend those in our gift shop.
And yeah, I was excited about this because, yeah, Ace in the Hole starring Kirk Douglas, who would later come back on The Simpsons and play Chester J. Lampwick.
What part was that?
The guy who invented
Itchy and Scratchy?
Yeah, Rocket Car, Gold House, all that.
That's right.
Gonna get some liver and onions. So I just remembered, paint my fence, make me.
But also this was apparently, and this is a story I had no idea about until I was doing the research for this episode, that it's sort of loosely based around the real life story of Jessica McClure. Is that a name that rings any bells?
Daughter of Troy McClure?
I thought it was a coincidental name as well, given the thing, yeah, right? But no, she's an 18, at the time, she was an 18-month-old girl that fell into a well at the back of her grandma's property, I think. And
it does sound familiar.
Yeah, and she was stuck down there for 45 hours, and there was this whole big thing of trying to rescue her because, you know, the well was small, so they couldn't get anyone down there, and digging equipment revealed that the well was surrounded by rock, which made it difficult, and they ended up using water jet cutting technology, which was at that time, like in the 1988, very new at the time. So it was deemed as risky. But yeah, they got her out. But yeah, similarly as well, there was this whole media circus that built around it, and like Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush at the time were getting on the news and talking about it. And like there was this guy who was born without collarbones that went down there and volunteered to go down the well because he's like, I don't have collarbones, I can fit down there. But
wow,
like
it's finally his time to shine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, she went, like, after she was rescued, her and her family went on, big media tour about it, met the Reagan president at the time, and, did that whole thing. So, yeah, they were sort of basing a lot of those elements around that as well. So, yeah, there you go.
I think sitting on, like, the Ace in the Hole thing, and even the, we mentioned the Jaws reference, I don't know. I mean, those are definitely older references, and they're still to meet movies and pop culture, but there's something about... There was nuance, or it felt like they were older references, which for some reason just like it felt like you were. I don't know why it felt like it made you smarter knowing some of these older like literature references or whatever, and it felt like it felt like Easter eggs, where if you got it, you felt like proud of yourself. Where in the newer episode, it's like here's a Quiet Place DVD stuck on my foot.
Yeah,
it's like okay, man, there's there's nothing subtle about this. But I remember because I was I majored in film in college, and you're watching things like Citizen Kane, and you're watching these older movies, and you're like, oh man, Simpsons, that's where Simpsons got that. Oh, and that's what that reference meant. And there were these things that didn't scream at you, but they were just there. And as a kid, you just enjoyed it because it was funny. But when you get older, you're like, oh man, here's what they were doing, and they're referencing these things, and they weren't beating you over the head. They gave the audience so much more like respect. I felt like they had you earn it and work for it a little bit more, which felt so much more satisfying.
Yeah, because it's this thing, if you're a kid and you haven't seen Jaws, it's just a crazy fisherman who wants to hook catch a boy with a hunk of chocolate. That's fine. But then later on when you get it, it's Quinn, it's funny.
Exactly.
Quint, rather.
Yeah, and you don't need to make any leaps by knowing the thing. Yeah, I went my whole life without knowing Ace in the Hole, and I still haven't seen it, but like the story works without the pre-knowledge. Like, You understand the story. They explain it well. Yeah. You didn't... Oh, no, you had to have seen this obscure movie from the 50s to understand what you're doing here.
To really get it. Yeah, and especially with the whole media circus and Quimby being like, saying I would get the boy out of the hole, I have taken a lot of flack, therefore I am flip-flopping.
It stands on its own. It doesn't need those things in order to stand or to make sense. But if you get the extra thing, it just feels like a reward. It's why shows like Arrested Development and things like that work so well, because they were so subtle, and there would be like little jokes in there and like Easter eggs. And if you got them, you felt like you were just in tune with what they were doing, and it felt like a reward.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the pacing as well, it just cracks along that, even if you miss something, it's all right, we're moving on. It's like,
Yeah. And it's one of those things, I recently learned the term that apparently Alfred Hitchcock used, which was a freezer box moment, where if something doesn't make sense in a movie, but you don't notice it at the time, you only notice it later on when you're at home taking chicken out of the freezer box for dinner. You're like, hey, wait a second. Whereas this works in the opposite of that. It's something where you're like, if you didn't get a reference or something like that, later on you'll be like, oh, wait, that was, of course.
Totally.
So it gets smarter the more time goes on.
Absolutely. And how about the heart of this episode? How was the emotional core?
Oh, come on. Like, Homer yelling out, that's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. Goofy as it is, it gets you.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like, that's why I love all these older episodes. And, like, they had Homer... granted, I in the 9 seasons that I love, Homer can be super stupid and wacky and off the wall. But for the most part, he's just like a regular dad who's like well-intentioned, but kind of gullible and kind of an oaf, but well-intentioned. So he buys this gift because he almost like wants to buy his son's affection. And then at the end, he like, with his own hands, he's like, I'm going to dig you out of there myself. And you have this town that is felt so wronged by this boy that they leave, but then they come back even to like, they put that aside to, the whole town comes together to help get this boy out of a well. And it doesn't beat you over the head with like cheese, but it's really sweet when you think about it. And they're throwing gifts down to their son in the well with like and Bart even has a moment where he just feels guilty and almost like apologizes and regrets what he did. Yeah, that's what you need. Like, you made a decision that had consequences, and then you have to like deal with those consequences in a tangible way that sticks to the family and keeps it small. That's what works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then even I did really like the visual joke of when Homer's, dropping his Krusty doll down there. He's got a goldfish and a tank. It's like, they don't mention it. They don't say a thing. It's just there. You're like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Oh, but at the end as well, like with Bart, like just realizing all the stuff he won't do. Like, I don't know, the alchemy here is just like having an emotional moment, but like peppering in these jokes. It's like it's not him going, oh my god, I'm going to miss my 11th birthday. I might not have my first kiss. It's like, no, I won't get to smoke a cigarette, use a fake ID, shave a swear word in my hair. It's like, oh, wait.
it's building the point while also undermining the point.
Yeah.
Or just knowing the characters so well, like writing the characters so well that is what he would mourn. Like, that's real for his character, that he knows he would probably have that trajectory of a lifestyle. Yeah, it just fits so well.
And yeah, that's what you're saying. Like, it comes into just knowing the characters so well, and it's so well set up in this episode. I guess this perfectly leads into, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Is this a show you recognize and know and love?
Yes.
Oh my god, yes.
Even though it's down a well, I can still tell it's the show we love.
Yeah, there's a moment, I think especially watching, and I'm so glad I happened to do it in this order too, where my wife and I were like, all right, let's watch the bad episode first. And so that way we can wash it out of our mouths with a really good episode. And so I'm glad we went in that order also, because you watch the seasons 30 and the animation is so like crisp and clean and feels a little like heartless. I don't know. Maybe that's a mean way of saying it, but it just seems super digitized. And then immediately in the first panel of Radio Bart, you're like, there's the kind of crudeness that feels more like warmth, and the imperfections are there, but it's so, I mean, everything you said, Elliot, about like feels cozy. Like you're putting on an old pair of shoes that just fits perfectly.
Yeah.
And yeah, the jokes come. I mean, yeah, at the very beginning when they're going into the Wally Weasels, there's a sign that says, Wally Weasels, we cram fun down your throat. There's just things like this. There's like, yes, this is what I want. I was cracking up at myself, and these subtle things that are just there that you'll catch. And yeah, it was great. This feels like a classic Simpsons episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just the characters all being so on point, and like, even Lisa, who doesn't get much to do in this episode, still gets to be the Lisa and point out the obvious flaw in Bart's plan here.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah.
That's just stupid enough have left a property of Bart Simpson label on that and then just a swing across the town down the well.
Yeah. And as well, yeah, we mentioned it's the best version of Homer. It's like, well-intentioned, pretty dumb, easily provoked, but yeah, still loves his son at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, he cares. He's just bad at it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the joke where he's labeling everything, and there's a label on the beer can, and he's like, "Oh, there's only one beer left, and it's Bart's." Like, thing like that. It's just like it's a small throwaway thing, but it's not so wacky. It would fit with his character, just kind of just like taking it at face value and just being kind of dumb.
Yeah. Oh, and like Bart being able to fool him with his version of War on the Worlds. This was another off-quoted thing. Yeah. We have your president. He was delicious.
Yeah, and I just love Homer in the background walking around with a shotgun.
Yeah. Immediately to shotgun, Jesus. But yes, no, would you watch this episode again?
Oh, sure.
Hell yes.
Yeah, of course I'd watch it again. And episodes we want to watch again, we like to think about what playlist we'd put them in. So what are some other Simpsons episodes that share like thematical elements that would, pair nicely with this one?
I'm going to say arcade games. We get a bit of Larry the Looter in this one.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of crazy Simpsons arcade games out there. And also for all the people out there who enjoy themselves a bit of Hunk of Man, we get some Shirtless Willie.
Oh, yeah, so this and Grease Me Up Woman.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
you're in for a steamy afternoon.
That's a great question. That's a cool idea. I think the reason I didn't like this episode at the beginning is because the older I've gotten, I really just dislike the episodes where Bart is just like an asshole, and because just like God, just stop being such an asshole all the time. And so I think I would lump it in with the episode where he doesn't get to see the Itchy and Scratchy movie, because the first half of the episode, he's just like trying on Grandpa's teeth and then like hammering ketchup packets. It's like, what are you doing, man? And that one, and one of my least favorite episodes that just it gives me like anxiety, even when I watched it as a kid, was when Lisa is his babysitter and Bart is just like a tyrant the entire time, and Lisa's trying to do the right thing, but Bart like falls down the stairs, right, and puts him in a wheelbarrow, and it's I just hate how difficult Bart is sometimes. It just like pisses me off.
I still remember, BT, when we reviewed that one, I was like, hey, what did you think? And your immediate first thing was, that was a harrowing watch.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think as a kid, you kind of emulate what your life would be like if you were Lisa, and as an adult, you're like, oh, this could happen to kids.
Yeah.
Totally.
Really ultra-specific playlist, but the Shutton playlist, the journalist who pops up sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Who does the Three-Eyed Fish as well, yeah.
Three-Eyed Fish. And Dave Shutton, who are you? Where are you going? Just the tiny, tiny, minuscule B-plot of this episode of the Lincoln Squirrel is just such a funny thing.
Does he get assassinated?
Yeah. We'll stay with the story all night if we have to.
But again, it's a good little, this is fluff piece media, and they're, really trying to sell it. And that's the next big thing that moves the country on from the boy down the well.
Yeah.
You can also do infomercials. We were talking about that before.
Oh, yeah.
I do really like that my note here just has the word limited, but I know what that means, because that's when he's like, but hurry, supplies are limited. And I was like, limited!
A couple. All right, what would we like to change? Adam, what would you like to change about this episode?
Oh, man. I think it could be picked up a little bit at the beginning. You're asking me like what I would change. I don't know how I would do it to make it better. It just kind of drags a little bit at the beginning, and then Bart kind of mopes for a bit about his toy. It really only picks up once the Timmy O'Toole, is that what the fake character's name is?
Yeah.
It goes in the well. That's when it gets going. It's a little slow going at the beginning, but I mean, that's just kind of, being picky, I guess.
I've got the same note. I don't know how to fix it. And to be fair, it is building what it needs for the rest of the episode to thrive. So sometimes you just need to lay that foundation. And laying a foundation isn't fun sometimes.
Sometimes it's just concrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How about you, BT?
Look, there's a bit at the beginning where Lisa's watching sexy dancing on TV, on like MTV or something, and everyone knows that only started with twerking and Miley Cyrus corrupting the nation. There was no such thing as dirty dancing way back in the wholesomeness of 1993, so don't lie to me, episode from that era. It's only the kids today who are corrupt.
Well, that was going to be my note of change from this episode because, I don't really know. I agree there's something a bit wrong with the pacing at the start, especially because I feel like they're setting up the whole Bart being disappointed thing with the birthday coupons with the, surprisingly small sundae. But then he has fun at the barber's, talking about how digital audio tape sucks compared to the compact discs of his age. Mm-hmm. And
then a very racy tango lesson.
Mm-hmm. So I think there should be more of a gradual disappointment and then like, the coupon sucked, but, I get to have my birthday party. And then I think that has a similarly good trick, but I don't know.
Yeah, having now mentioned it, I think that we do spend a lot of time on, then Homer's drooling over the sexy dancing on TV. That doesn't really do anything. It's him watching TV, I suppose. That's where he gets the idea. But surely there's another, maybe start with Bart, transition to Homer or something.
Yeah.
It's what, maybe a minute out of this episode that I think could use some tightening, maybe 2. So.
Well, it's the part that I'm not quite a fan of is, Homer drooling hornily over the TV while his daughter's in the room. That was just a bit weird. I kind of like the joke of, giving the money. It's like, Dad, this is like $100. Oh, sorry, gives the whole wallet.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is just...
Yeah, though the episodes that start with the Simpsons watching TV and usually the great jokes that come out of it, maybe something else on this one.
Yeah, it's a little repetitive in the nature of the episode where, like, there's a thing and then they do a bunch of lists of it. Like, there's... Like, Bart wants to go use his birthday coupons or whatever, and there's, like, a few of those, and they're kind of humorous, but there's nothing, like, hilarious in those. And then it's like he's bored with but he wants to do pranks with his label maker, and we get a few of those, and then pranks with the microphone, there's a few of those. And then there's like, he's in the well, how are we going to get him out? Here's a couple ideas. So there's like that pattern that kind of hits, but I mean, it still works. I remember watching, like, I was cracking up, or I was chuckling to myself when he started pranking Rod and Todd, pretending to be God in the radio.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny.
How did you get on the radio?
It doesn't, like, there's not like that, like, hilarious moment. It's just like, it's kind of humorous, but I felt like that could have maybe been a little bit more, or even him getting the sundae that's really small. It was fine, and it got to where it needed to go. But I was never like, oh my god, I got to rewatch that moment because it was so funny. Kind of moments.
I will say I do like the beat of the sundae. Just eat it and get out.
yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah,
walk into the wall. I will remove it for you later.
Exactly.
That was just a good line delivery for me. All right, I think we are here. Any other notes time? Start with you, Adam. Do you have any other notes, parts of this episode you want to mention before we rank it?
It's funny. We've talked about, like, watching this show and approaching it from different places. When you watch it as a kid, you definitely disassociate yourself more with, like, Bart and Lisa. But the older you get, now I'm rewatching it, I can't help but just feel so much more connected to Homer now being a dad myself. And it's really just an interesting way of rewatching it. And so I think I really just love the episodes like this where Homer wants to be a good dad, and he's trying his best, but he doesn't really know how to do it, but he just loves his kids. I think that's just like, I just missed that heart that was in because that's how it was pitched, right? It was just like a sitcom. It was a family that happens to be animated, and it just worked really well. And then you get to seasons 30 and they're just Hulk turning into Hulk and randomly, and you're like, what's happening, man? Like, but like episodes like this where it's just a simple idea where a dad just wants his son to love him the same way that he loves him, that he loves his son, and it hits that. Like we talked about with Screenless, like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to do? You don't have anything to say. You don't land it. It's all over the place. But with this one, it really like hits that through line at the beginning and the end of like a father wanting to love his son, and it does it so well.
Absolutely. BT?
All right, let's see. They've got the mention at the beginning of, we've got another track up by Funky C, Funky Dude, lip syncing, another one of their hits, which is a great little Milli Vanilli jab, I think. And also at the end, it's like they've got the song, I Do Believe We're Naked.
It is a banger.
But Casey Kasem, all the way to 98. Did y'all know Casey Kasem?
Oh, that was one that I came to later, but yeah. Oh, now
when I was a kid, on like Sunday mornings, it was like, and now number 2 on the countdown. That's such a dated reference that I happen to remember.
That dude also did voices in Scooby-Doo, if I remember correctly.
Oh, did he? I remember I grew up watching Saved by the Bell, and he's in an episode by the Saved by the Bell, and I think that's how I was introduced to him.
And now that theme song is in my head. If I could hand it in tomorrow, it'll be... there's a bit of, when they're advertising the microphone of, why sit in front of the TV? It's like, see, this is how you do self-referential parody of, Screenless, pay attention.
Oh, yeah, and the whole line of, hey, good looking, we'll be back for you later. Apparently, because this whole thing was based on Ronco Brand's Mr. Microphone, who did a similar thing. And that was a line from that actual commercial that they thought was so funny. So, yeah, having it work in the commercial and then Homer repeating it to Marge just through that distorted microphone as well is just, chef's kiss.
There's a great little moment of, it's classic Homer of, chocolate, with the Neapolitan chocolate vanilla strawberry ice cream, and just the chocolate's gone, is just throwing it out. Like, I think that happened to everyone as a kid.
Yeah,
I said. That's so funny. Why he keeps buying it and he only eats one third of the chocolate. Yeah. Again, small joke that's just so funny.
No, absolutely. And again, this was a meme in my family, and like one of the ice cream brands bought one out that was like a swirl, and like Mum brought it home and was like, what are you doing? Like, we want the chocolate. It's all mixed up.
Nice. Yeah, good riff there, Elliot's mum. Lisa's reading Non-Threatening Boys. That's just something funny about that.
Oh, yeah, that's a playlist.
All right. Now, an important one here is, one of the pranks Bart pulls is he puts the radio underneath Mrs. Krabappel's desk and makes a fart noise with his mouth. Now, the listeners out there can go to patreon.com/SideQuestStudios, where they can listen to the exclusive podcast, Storyboard the Chalkboard, where there was actually a chalkboard gag, I will not make fart noises in class. Could this be a reference to why Bart got detention? Find out on that exclusive podcast available on our Patreon.
So just to explain that premise, yeah, we're doing this podcast where we're taking the chalkboard gags and trying to decipher what the hidden episode was behind them. Because, yeah, surely if Bart had the punishment, therefore there was a hidden episode of The Simpsons implied.
You've drawn that connection where a lot of the chalkboards are references to things that he's done in episodes?
Oh, no, we're making it up.
We're making shit up.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa, what have you guys uncovered here? All right.
That'd be epic.
Yeah, we're all frazzled like Charlie Day, and we got the,
Exactly.
red string and everything.
I have a conspiracy board in my house. Don't worry. I do like Homer's like, that boy's a hero. How do you feel? He fell down a well. I don't know. I like the non-ending of that out. It's just, I've been told by the media he's important.
Again, it's Lisa's skepticism. She obviously bears no ill will towards this boy. It's like, but how's he a hero?
Yeah, what are we doing with this?
He's a boy and he fell down a well.
Well, it's more than you ever did.
I do like that. That was the end of that. I couldn't remember. I do like the whole Krusty talking to Sting and the scheduling thing. For some reason, especially in my adulthood, that's really funny. It's like, how about Thursday? Thursday's so good. What about Friday? Friday's worse than Thursday. Then he said, how about Saturday? And,
true story.
Yeah. There's something, about being an adult and trying to make plans with your friends that just hits really different.
Or organizing international podcasts.
Let's see. Bart's little moment of when he falls down the well and gets his foot trapped by a rock. He's like, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
Like, okay, that got me. And then Homer on the news is like, we didn't want the boy. He was an accident. It's like, can we edit that out? No, Mr. Simpson, we're live. An extra playlist is, we do the pan through the ground when they're digging the hole next to the well, and you get, the classic Simpsons pan through jokes of, there's a dinosaur and the alien and whatever else, like when you pan through the house. And my last one is just a little bit of Simpsons broke my brain, especially in Apu's voice of just, the canary. I just, anytime there's like a minor signal of some kind of problem going on, like, the canary.
Yeah, and just the whole mob thing of like, out of the hole. This canary died from natural causes. Back in the hole. Yeah. And coincidentally, the police have a song called Canary in a Coal Mine.
Oh, really? There we go.
Yeah.
You live your life like a canary in a coal mine. You get so busy even walking in a straight line.
So that was all your notes, sorry?
That is all my notes.
Yeah, I've only just got a couple more. Apparently this is the first spoken and sung line of Sideshow Mel in the series.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
His vocal debut.
That's really interesting because he's already got that very verbose pronunciation in his part of the song. So it's interesting that wasn't established yet.
So I think that was like, what part of the joke is that, the clown sidekick with the bone in his head. Oh my God. Yeah.
Actually has, the very Shakespearean baritone delivery.
Yeah.
Baritone, whatever he is.
This is another episode with an Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, and Yeah, these guys' turnaround of having news relevant stories. God, the Itchy and Scratchy staff must have like a schedule like South Park, you know?
Keep it current. Yep.
Yeah.
Keep it sharp.
Yeah. Oh, and the other note I had is, we often talk about how it's weird how New Simpsons get the Emmy over much more deserving shows. Like we talked about Three Gays of the Condo beating out, I think it was Jurassic Bark. Like, this one lost out to a Claymation Easter. Adam, have you ever seen a Claymation Easter?
Is it the same people who made like the Claymation Christmas? Because I definitely like watched that when I was a kid.
I think so.
I don't know about the Easter one though. It's
Yeah,
got to be
I
on
couldn't find
YouTube. It's got to be on YouTube.
Yeah. No, definitely. All right, it's time to rank this thing. Adam, you can go first. And just a reminder of the rating scale, it goes failure, participant, bronze, silver, gold, cubic zirconia for essential episodes.
I'm kind of sitting between. I think it's better than silver, but it's not like one of the best episodes ever. It's a really good episode, but it has its faults. It's not a flawless episode. I think since I'm kind of in between that, I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to say Gould. Is Gould second to top?
Yep.
I think I'm going to say Gould, because there's better episodes than this, but this is like a good episode. This is a good classic episode.
We always say go with your guts, yeah.
Yeah.
BT.
Yeah, look, I came last night. I finished it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is probably a Gold." And then sitting here talking about it, I do really enjoy all the nuance and subtlety that is going into this episode. There's a lot of things that, when I looked over my notes, they're just like these small little quick references that are very blink and you'll miss it gags. Does that push it up into the realm of a cubic zirconia? It does have the problem as well of being very iconic. So it's always hard to tell when we're ranking, is that just the rose-colored glasses for the icon of it all? Or is it actually deserving of that highest ranking? So I'm kind of on the gold cubic zirconia border. I think in honor of Sting, I'm going to go with the Fields of Gold.
Yes.
And going to sit on it's an excellent, it's just not quite up into that God tier.
Yeah.
It's I might blurt out something different in a second. I'm very kind of split on this.
This episode, like, I can't take off the rose-colored glasses. It's a cubic for me.
That's fair, man.
And I'm trying to take.
I'm glad someone did, because I'm very split on that. So
Yeah, I'm trying to take personal bias out of this, and I agree. Like, the start is a rocky, bumpy start, and there's definitely some obvious improvements to be made. But the way it lands and just the way they explore the whole media circus thing is just so
great.
wonderful to me. And then talking about how it pays off other references. I'm kind of keen to check out the Ace in the Hole movie now because of this. And but I think averaging out, this will be a shiny gold, and I think that's a wonderful place for this one to sit. It will be the 4th episode from season 3 to get that honor. It'll be joining Burns for Coffin de Kraftwerk, Dog of Death, and Brother, Can You Spare 2 Dimes, the second Herb episode.
How many like are the best of the best? How many God tier or whatever, the cubic zirconium, how many are in that season?
For season 3, there are 7.
Oh, dang.
Treehouse of Horror 2, Lisa's Pony, Flaming Moe's, I Married Marge, Lisa the Greek, the football one, Homer Alone, the Rancho Relaxo, and one of my now all-time favorites, Homer at the Bat.
Oh, God, so many good
Homer
ones.
at Bat and Lisa's Pony are 2 of my absolute favorites.
Yeah,
Flaming Moe's is so damn good. God, yeah, those are worthy.
But yeah, across the whole run, well, the first 8 seasons, we haven't given a unanimous cubic outside of there. There's almost 70 now, so yeah.
Almost 17? Oh, dang.
Oh, 17.
17.
Oh, 70. Oh, okay,
70.
dang. Okay, great.
Yeah, basically all of season 6 and 7 are up there.
Oh, my God, yeah.
All right, well, that about does it. We've just got a couple more bits of business, including the most important question that we're going to ask you today, Adam. More important than the wackiness, the heart, the integrity. BT, take it away.
So, Adam, we like to ask our first-time guests the question very simply. If you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on that sandwich? If I'm walking into a deli and I'm ordering the Adam, what am I getting?
Oh, man, that's such a great question. Does it have to be, like, unique, like it doesn't exist already?
No, it's just yours. Whatever you want to be associated with your name. If I'm eating the Entertain the Elk.
How about, I think this works out, like, there's the BLT, there's the BLAT, but how about the table? And that's going to be the TABLE.
Ooh.
So I'll get bacon, lettuce, tomato, and I'll get some avocado on there. And if I'm really feeling frisky, I'll get an egg thrown on there as well.
Ooh.
A fried egg. How about the table?
I haven't had breakfast yet, and that sounds amazing.
I was wondering if the E was going to stand for elk, but I think egg is a much more delicious ingredient.
Too gamey. It's too gamey of a meat.
Yep.
Or have both and have a tablee. No, that's a wonderful sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to keep an eye out in the world now for the table.
Yeah, the table. Yes.
Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an absolute treat.
It was so much fun. Thank you guys so much for having me. Seriously love getting to talk Simpsons. I think, honestly, I wonder if you have a lot of guests who are this way, and maybe yourselves. I just feel sad sometimes talking about The Simpsons because I loved it for such a long time. And now when you think of The Simpsons and how long it is, it's only been good for about a fourth of its run.
Yeah.
And it's getting less and less. But like, those seasons, I mean, seasons 1 through 9 are great, but seasons 3 through like 7 I still say is the best TV show, is the best TV I've ever seen. It will always be, because it's so damn good, and because of the nostalgia that's tied to it. Like you were kind of saying, Elliot, with the Radio Bart.
Yeah.
You have so much history and memories with it, and so it was a blast getting to talk about The Simpsons with you guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
No, absolutely. And, that's why we go, new, old, so that, we can be all cynical and critical at the start, but then we can remember, TV's warming, glow.
Yeah, and that's what I found is the wonderful thing about Simpsons fandom is, we're meeting you for the first time today, and now we're like old friends.
Exactly.
It's that old Seinfeld bit. You like cherry cola?
Yeah.
I like cherry cola.
We'll be best friends.
So, Adam, if people want to hear and see more of what you're doing, where can they do that?
Yeah, so on YouTube, I have a channel called Entertain The Elk, and I do like video essays that explore TV, film, but other things like paintings and literature. And the first video, Elliot, you mentioned earlier, the first one that blew up, it's like my 5th video I ever made, was the day The Simpsons died. And I have a series of that, and the idea being like exploring these popular series or franchises and going through the history of it, what made it so great, but then the moment where it faltered and kind of lost its step and started to dip into mediocrity. So I've done that with The Simpsons. I've done it with a lot of other shows, Futurama, Family Guy, Community, The Office. So if you want to see that, go on YouTube. Again, it's Entertain the Elk. I also have a podcast that is called Of Mice and Men and Monsters. That is about it's Dungeons and Dragons combined with literature. My wife, who's a high school English teacher, is the dungeon master, and we play through famous stories and literature. Like we've played through Frankenstein and Moby Dick, Count of Monte Cristo, and we're currently in Oliver Twist right now.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to find that, if you like D&D or literature or comedy podcasts, it's called Of Mice and Men and Monsters.
I like both those things, yes.
Yes.
BT's eyes just widened heaps. But yeah, I absolutely love your videos, and the day the X died, and also the videos on the X rating and parental advisory and the VHS horror tapes. All wonderful essays. Can't recommend them enough. They're just wonderful work you've done.
Thank you so much. And it sounds like you're wrapping this up. And if I could, because you mentioned Ben about like you feel like you know each other because if you like The Simpsons, and I feel like you've probably already talked about this. So I'm sorry for your fans, but I just got to know what are some like your favorite Simpsons episodes of all time. If we're talking Simpsons, I want to know like what's your Mount Rushmore, or like 1 or 2 of like, your favorite episodes that you think are the best ever.
Definitely Homer at Bat, Lisa the Beauty Queen, Lisa's Pony, and then there's a few that I haven't seen for a long time. Like I haven't seen Last Exits to Springfield for a very long time, but that always gets ranked really highly. So I'm looking forward to covering that one when we do. Those are the ones off the top of my head.
Yeah, like we mentioned the casino episode before. That's definitely an all-timer for me. Lemon of Troy actually was a surprise one, how much I loved that. Yeah, Homer the Great, Stonecutters episode. Oh my goodness, what else? Yeah, Rosebud has always stood there as a essential Mr. Burns episode. Lisa's Wedding, and that's the other fun thing about this podcast. Growing up, it was all about Bart and Homer and their wacky hijinks, and I'm like, growing up, oh wait, no, I'm all about them Lisa and Marge episodes.
Oh yeah,
and obviously Marge versus the Monorail as well, which we reviewed last week, which is just phenomenal.
So good. Yeah, Lemon of Troy is in mine. It's so good. I wish when they made a Simpsons movie, they could have made like that into a movie, because I feel like that's ripe for like a huge epic movie length. I also love Homer the Heretic when he stops going to church. I just love that episode. And Homer Goes to College. I rewatched that one the other day, and God, it's so good. I think Conan O'Brien wrote that one, and I think he wrote the Monorail one too. God, it was so good.
Yeah, Conan's Big Three, Monorail, College, and New Kid on the Block, the Laura Powers episode.
Which one's that?
Laura and Ruth Powers move in next door, and Bart has a crush on her. She's teenage girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Played by Darlene from Roseanne. I'm forgetting her.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah. And she goes for like Jimbo or something like that.
Yeah. No,
Okay, perfect. Sorry to stop down if you were wrapping the episode, but I was like, I just want to know where what you guys love.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, we like talking Simpsons, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Even after 5 years.
Exactly.
Oh, and Hank Scorpio. Yeah.
Oh, how did I forget that? How did I forget you only moved twice?
That's a great one.
And BT, what else are we up to?
Well, as flawlessly segued earlier, you can check out everything we're on to at patreon.com/sidequeststudios. I also don't mean to make that sound like that's the only place you can get our content. We are available on every podcatcher you can think of. But we also have our series Thrones of Game, where we watch Game of Thrones backwards. That series is actually completed now. So Elliot has now only ever seen Game of Thrones in reverse order.
That's true.
That's an awesome concept. That's awesome.
Yeah. We also have our scripted podcast, Pulp Fury Radio, where I've taken inspiration from pulp genres like horror and noir and mystery, and I've written some scripts. We got some actors in to do all that, put in the sound effects. I think it's some of our best work. I'm really proud of it all. We're starting to work on our second season, Quiet Wink. As soon as we get out of this lockdown, maybe we can hang out with those actors and start organizing that. But yeah, very proud of that work. If you want something that isn't just people sitting around talking about TV, here's some fiction for you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that about does it. And yeah, just once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, guys. It was a lot of fun.
And BT, as always, thank you.
Limited. I don't know, that's all I had.
And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
See, that's where I should have yelled limited. That made more sense.
The mustard is limited.
I'm going to leave.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at simpsonsindex on Twitter or Instagram. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.
Hey listeners, as mentioned at the start of the show, we normally review 3 episodes of The Simpsons, one from each decade, but this week we only did 2. So, I mentioned before I'd explain what's happening, so here's what's happening. It's hard to believe, but we've actually almost finished reviewing all of the episodes from the classic and teens era of the show, the first 19 seasons. And the plan always was, once we'd done that, then we'd switch the format to reviewing 2 newer episodes, from season 20 onwards. But I've decided to make the format change more of a gradual shift. So going forward, we'll mostly stick to the established format of reviewing 3 episodes, but some weeks it'll only be 2. It's kind of like BT being here, except when he isn't. We review 3 episodes at a time, except when we don't. So anyway, thank you again for listening to the show. Thanks again to our special guest, Adam Tinius from Entertain The Elk. And now that's all the mustard in the house.